This is the Free Zone Communiqué, transmitting from Virginia's unoccupied sector. If you think smart cities, DEI, censorship, government intrusion, bug paste, and other left-wing nonsense are no longer a possibility, think again. We've won one election with slim majorities. Our work to rebuild a free and sane America has just begun.
This is the Free Zone Communiqué on the P4B. Today we're talking more on the trans fad, an easy win, and the Amazing Notre Dame event. The last couple weeks I've lost some guests due to illness, and now I am ill. My wife says I now have my sexy sinus infection voice. Can't be much worse than my regular voice. I expect that Brittany will be back. Brittany from Unscripted Liberty should be back here in the next week or two. I am living on daycare, which when it wears off, I fully expect to face plant right into this laptop. Booking guests can be daunting, so if you know anybody I should be talking to, take advantage of the email address below and let me know if you'd like to see somebody in particular on this program. If you're listening on Apple Podcast app, please leave a review and rating. These are extremely valuable in building better, high-quality shows. Anywhere you listen or watch, always share and subscribe and follow. Below the video line in the descriptions on Apple, Rumble, or YouTube, you'll find a load of links. There you'll find Trump gear, P4B gear, Free Zone gear. There is a link to the Hero Company. They get service dogs to veterans at no charge. Do support them. And I have stocking stuffer suggestions in the descriptions and the text below the audio and video lines. All these links help support the podcast at no extra cost to you. So please use those links. Finally, before we get to the good stuff, the next 13 subscribers that subscribe on our Substack at www.streetpolitics.us get a free MAGA power cuff. A photo is on Substack or in this video. If you're listening elsewhere, you'll just have to take my word for it that they're cool. You just pay shipping. We'll contact you for particulars, how to claim, male or female, after you subscribe. As you'll see later, the whole male-female thing might be very complicated. But we'll do our best. We'll trust you to know if you're a boy or a girl.
Stand by. More to follow.
I've been banging on for a long time about getting 65 conservative or at least Republican seats in the Senate in order to have a veto-proof path to real reform. I've been preaching this since 2014. The whole thing is laid out in the links below the video line. Look for the red button that says the 65 concept explained. I've also said that people are splitting their vote. The biggest reason I hear for this is people want the top of the ticket because they're perceived to be the most popular or have the best programs. Best programs I can understand. But they vote for the oppositions so the bastards can keep an eye on each other. Such voters talk about a balance of power. That's a classic fallacy. Every time Europe has attempted a balance of power exercise, it's ended in poverty or war or both, and the EU is starting to look a little wobbly. Without a sense of direction, every entity fails. Do you want Trump policies? You need legislators who back that. Also, in a 50-50 government, it's easy for snakes like McConnell and Pelosi and Schumer to worm their way in and happily swap seats. None of these people care what party is in power. They just care about their own power and their own money. Nope. You need to empower those who claim to be about what you believe in. Load them up in the legislature and then shame them into doing your bidding if you have to. So how do we build a machine that can get us the majorities we need in the Senate? Well, first we need to start now, building for the midterms. And yes, I understand. We just finished an election. I've said that for the last 3 weeks. But this is what needs to be done. It's not hard. Trust me on this. Just listen, hear me out. Follow the example of Scott Pressler, for example. I'll link his stuff below the video line. And then we all do a little bit. We use the concept of geometric progression. If you take a giant sheet of paper, say the size of 3 football fields, and you fold it in half, and then you do that again. You do that 50 times, and the folds reach the sun. Fold it one more time, and it goes all the way to the sun and back. Or take a penny and double it. If you take a penny and double it every day for 30 days, I'm sure you've heard the concept. You don't have 1,000,000 pennies. You have over $1 million. But we don't have to find billions of pennies or fold over tons of paper. Each one of us just needs to find 2 people who will vote straight GOP or for another reliable conservative candidate and commit to finding 2 people to do the same thing. 2, find 2, find 2. Sometimes it's easy. Sometimes it might take a strong argument. That's where the mentorship of Scott Pressler comes in. You also have the brilliant and persuasive arguments of Tucker Carlson, Charlie Kirk, Byron Donalds, all kinds of people to call on. If you employ these ideas in a happy, positive way, no rancor, love on the people you're speaking to, we can sweep the Senate and even the House in 26. Read The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell. I'll leave a link. Choose the role you would use to bring people into the GOP or conservative fold. You could be a connector, a maven, a salesman. Any method would work. For me, the easiest would be maven. I read and write a lot about all kinds of politics and politicians. With such information, it's easy for me to recommend a politician, and I can tell you why. That's what a maven does. Salesmen are great at convincing people of something, or in this case, someone to support. They're very good at overcoming objections. Then there are the connectors. They are the people who know lots of people. When they speak, a lot of people hear it. They're well known and well liked. They also, because of their network, know who to talk to. When a connector pursues a message, it spreads. Other mavens and salesmen and other connectors carry the message further. Paul Revere was a connector. Everybody knew him and respected him. So if he rolled into your town with important news, you acted on it and told everybody what you just learned. My favorite idiot lawyer is back in the news, baby. Frumpy Fanny.
She might be lumpy. She might be frumpy. She might have those big old cankles going on. But she's my Fanny, and she pays me well.
She ignored an open records request and was sued to produce the documents in question. These docs, we are told, might show collusion between Frumpy Fanny, Nathan Wade, and the January 6th committee. They might also show collusion between Frumpy and Jack Smith. This is illegal. Why is it significant? The prosecution of Trump and his allies, especially Trump himself, was obviously timed. The parties in New York, D.C., Georgia, and Florida decided to order their prosecutions based on which ones had the best chance of winning. The next consideration was which cases might just be a handy distraction. You can't do that. That's illegal. When they had evidence of an offense, it should have been brought when they had it. You don't hold on to charges and drop them when a candidate seems to be the nominee. We know the collusion occurred because, 1, Wade got caught visiting the White House several times. It got out because there's a visitor's log and he overbilled. 2, we watched the timing play out slowly after being told they had all these crimes lined up for years. Then, as the election heated up, the lefties started demanding the courts move at lightning speed. This after they dragged their feet for between 3 and 8 years. Finally, we know they were colluding because they denied it. That is how reliable the left's bullshit treadmill is. I suspect the Georgia case is about to get shut down completely. They have no chance of pursuing it. And any political mileage they might have gained won't be worth the embarrassment of these documents. They better hope that just dropping the case will satisfy the plaintiffs in the lawsuit. And I still say Willis should face disbarment for her obvious weaponization of her office. Have you ever heard Josh Hawley go after a lawyer sitting before his committee? I think he saves his best stuff for those lawyers that make us hate lawyers. It's fun to watch. Recently, he went after Noel Wise. She's a judge from Alameda, California. She's up for a federal appointment, and she's an idiot. Hawley asked for her views on the trans fad. She started to walk a tight line so as not to be put in the Ketanji Brown Jackson basket of knuckleheads. That's when Hawley produced the article she wrote for Time magazine about boys and girls' restrooms and locker rooms. I'll leave 2 links so you can see Hawley slice up her testimony and read her own words. They are ridiculous words steeped in TikTok and Instagram bullshit. Stupid people now call science. Her article is titled "Gender Laws Are at Odds with Science." Let's talk about the science she's talking about. This is a science invented by Instagram goons in 2012-2013. Proponents say a doctor assigns the sex of the child when the child is born. This is part of an extensive word game that started with the Instagram goons. It grows every day. The latest example I cited was in a previous post. Joe Scarborough made a creative and dishonest use of pre-puberty, post-puberty trannies. According to Joe, folks are fine with mutilating small children, and then those children go on to play in girls' sports. Those kids are transitioned by their kinky parents. But it's those pesky post-puberty trannies, the ones who become trannies because it was cool among their weird little friends who lived inside their phones, that shouldn't play in girls' sports. That's a word game. Noel's word game in the article starts with the word assigns. The doc doesn't assign anything. He objectively identifies the sex of a child by seeing a penis or a lack of one. And so does everyone else in the room. For the truly slow, boys have a penis. Girls have a vagina. There is a very small number of children who are born with a complete deformity of their genitals. These kids are usually boys. The parents are told and counseled on how to face the situation. At that point, they have to decide whether to raise the boy as a boy or, and this could be merciful, have surgery at the earliest possible moment to create the likeness of a vagina and raise the boy as a girl. Puberty blockers and a lifetime of hormones are involved. The counseling could last a lifetime as well. Imagine trying to decide whether to tell your child about this later. But this is a case of a true sex identity challenge, not the fad we see today. There's a slightly larger segment of the society, these people who suffer from a mental disorder called gender dysphoria. They are similar to people who suffer from body dysphoria. Oh, my left arm is trying to kill me. Amputate it. With gender dysphoria, we are talking about 0.008% of the population, or 25,000 plus people, not the million Noel made up for her trendy article. The whole trans fad is a giant word game. Like the term, quote, cis, in front of a person's sex is a word game. If you are a woman, you are a woman. Nothing can change that. The term cis, added by the fad fans, is by its own definition redundant. Sudden onset gender dysphoria is a made up term for kids, often way out there on the spectrum, or who sociopathically are enamored with any attention for any reason. They spend a few days in a TikTok or Reddit rabbit hole and then announce that they are the opposite sex of what they are. Quacks who want to make money pretend to recognize the word game as reflecting reality. Since the trans fad really took off in 2012, these quacks have created an industry to exploit the shallow or deranged kids for profit. But the worst are the kinky parents. My son told me when he was 3 that he knew he was a girl. And I just want to support my daughter and tell him that yes, he is a girl. If a parent tells you that their preschool son announced they were a girl without being prodded and pushed by a parent or even a full-time babysitter, that parent is lying. Toddlers don't arrive at anything of that nature on their own. There's a slightly larger group than the deformed and the truly dysphoric we need to discuss. This is guys with autogynephilia. This is a kink. Guys get sexually aroused, according to psychologists, at the thought of themselves as a female. Consider the nutbag portrayed in Silence of the Lambs. Often the same men get an extra kick out of shocking people, especially females, by exhibiting their kink for them. Naked is a bonus. According to biographers, Hemingway got into this a little bit with his last wife, and I suspect biographers were being kind with their characterization with that whole relationship. It's ironic that Ernest was disappointed with his son's gay or perhaps just effeminate tendencies. But I digress. The fact is, this kink is growing as the trans fad grows. This is the most important reason to end what Noel Wise was fighting for in her extremely lopsided article. Males invading the privacy of women's private spaces and injuring them in sports. Her argument is that no judge can fairly assess what to do about such things. Locker rooms, restrooms, sports, because no judge can legally define what a woman is. And the only reason this is so is because of the bullshit, nonsensical TikTok, Instagram terms we've allowed into legal discourse. And this is why people hate lawyers. There's no limit to the number of lawyers who would argue against the statement that 10 inches of concrete that's set 10 years ago is hard and can kill you if I threw you off a 10-story building. Their argument would be, are you a chemist? Are you a paving engineer? And so it is with gender-bending politicians and lawyers. The political whores codify terms like gender fluid into law. It has no place there. It is social media nonsense and cannot be defined. Then if someone draws that same conclusion in court, they're asked if they're biologists. When you have a judge equally willing to pretend to be stupid, the concept survives law and case law, and the idiocracy grows. It's worth repeating that for nearly all of Western civilization, gender has been a matter of literature and language. Sex was your physical reality, male or female. Blurring the use of the terms has been child's play for the loony left, and it's been children playing along ever since. This whole mess is the result of the indulgence by parents, activists, judges, and political whores. They entertain such nonsense without consequence. But to let an educated society descend into such absurdity, to encourage it in the courts and the halls of power, is inexcusable. History will look back on the participants in this sadistic fad as among the most pathetic people ever. Well, Penn State had a winning year. It was exciting. They played their hearts out, but they fell in the Big Ten championship. Let's thank them for turning in a great performance. Pearl River has a Nittany Lions version of a terrible towel. There will be a link below. Be ready to cheer on our guys next season. In the meantime, we still have basketball and baseball to look forward to. I suppose they'd like to have fanatics in the stands waving the blue and white for them as well. Did you catch any of the Notre Dame comeback? Not the college, the cathedral. With all the heads of state and security and transportation, I suspect that ceremony cost almost as much as the repairs after the fire. There was a lot going on in the celebration. The craziest part was the seating. Jill Biden, wife of Joe Duh and official lead American delegate, was 3 seats from the French head of state. Donald was right next to him. Trump got more than a perfunctory finger grasp from the Archbishop and all the heads of states in attendance. As we watched, everyone greeted Trump. You'd think he was the host of the event. That should tell you a lot about the lies we've heard during the election. They actually try to convince you that the world respected Joe Duh and cackles more than Trump. Now wrap your head around this. I didn't say like, I said respect. But even with that qualifier, the greetings were mighty warm for the Donald. And it was a great moment for France. But it was supposed to be a victory lap for Macron, president of France. He was the driving force behind getting Notre Dame repaired and reopened in record time. The experts said he was blowing it out his ass when he said they'd reopen in 5 years. He fought his corner and won. But while this amazing feat was being celebrated, Macron's government fell apart. The timing sucked. But France has been in trouble for a long time now. The Associated Press, of course, blamed the far right. In their slanted and unhelpful analysis, there was no right wing mentioned. There is left, moderates, and far right. This kind of propaganda is the reason France is falling apart. This is why Donald Trump won. This is why Central and Eastern Europe are stopping illegal immigration. Missing from the AP's dogshit analysis is this reality. No faction in the French government had a majority. They had to form a coalition. Not unusual. But if you have 2 factions, in this case center and left in your corner, why did the Prime Minister fall to a vote of no confidence? It is because the people are sick of the welfare state shit. And the right is where they're placing their faith right now. AP says one of the reasons the government failed was because the far right keeps pushing for austerity. Really? What was France and Germany demanding of Italy and Greece when those 2 countries couldn't get their shit together? That's right, austerity. And that is just a term drama queens use in this situation. What it means is France can no longer piss away money as they have been for a generation. And they need to purge their country of illegals and foreign criminals. The quote far right contends that individuals need to build more of a life for themselves. The government has tried to be all things to all people and has failed miserably many times over the years. There are those in government insisting that the new government be exactly the same as the one that just got shit canned. That's the left for you. But Macron is pragmatic. I think he's going to thread this needle. But it would be nice for a French Trump to float to the top. As of this writing, Daniel Penny has been acquitted. That case should never have seen the inside of a courtroom. It is nice to see Alvin Bragg, Fat Alvin, New York's male equivalent of Frumpy Fanny, take one in the shorts. Of course, BLM is now screaming that yet another drug-addicted criminal is a hero. This guy, Jordan Neely, is an even more screwed up loser than George Floyd. Well, when it comes to burning and looting and raising money for unworthy, phony charities, you got to take them where you can find them. And the CEO shooter has been nabbed. The idiots who are celebrating the murder are right to say the insurance industry is screwed up. But not a single one of these knuckleheads could tell you why. Maybe we'll take that on next time.
Please tell a friend about the Free Zone Communiqué. We live and die with the share and subscribe buttons. Please use affiliate and sponsor buttons to support our work. Thank you very much for joining us today.